Hello everyone, RagingRaptor here, and today I am 100% certain a lot of people will be like, why Wargaming are you buffing Clanwars reward tanks? They're all ready for people which are insanely strong and they're OP anyway, and you're buffing the Chieftain, what are you doing? Let's all just relax. Don't forget it's almost Easter, or it might already be Easter, or it might already have been Easter, depending when you're watching the video. So let's just relax and have a look at these 6 tanks Wargaming out of nowhere buffs. M60, 121B, KV-4 Kres, the Chieftain T95, the Tier 8 Chieftain, not the Tier 10 Chieftain, the IS-5 and the T23E3. And before we jump into that, I do want to point out, and it is very interesting to me to see what you think about this. Some people might say, oh, you're just liking those changes because you are one of the people which have those tanks and you are an elitarist anyway. You are Clan Wars player, you are in a clan which is playing actively, you have every Clan Wars reward, you have blah blah blah. Yes, that is true. I like to see those tanks getting changes. I like to see that those changes are mostly buffs, you know. Well, mostly all of them are buffs. And it's nice to see because I have them. That is completely correct. However, I do want to say that just from the paper stats, I don't consider that any tank or any buffs they are giving to those tanks will make any of those tanks OP. And the other thing is, so far you are fairly frequent on getting those tanks if you play Clan Wars. And I do have to say that the normal premium tank versions out there are far superior to what you have here. Those, or most of those vehicles, are just novelty vehicles which have not a single other use than except being like, yo, I have a big dick, I have those tanks in my garage. It's the same like the T22 medium in that regard. But that is my personal opinion, so I would really like to know what you think about those changes, and let me know in the comment section below after you saw the changes yourself and know what is getting changed. And with that out of the way, I'd say let's just jump into the M60. And this one is a little bit annoying. And I already forwarded that as feedback to Wargaming. Complex turret armor enhancement. What is that supposed to be? We get this 2 more times. And I can tell you what is going to happen. Are Wargaming going to make the M60 more like the M48? Which would be weird. Are they giving it the A3 turret? The more streamlined turret? That would be cool, you know. That would make it more unique and more interesting in that regard. We don't know, you know, and it's kind of hard for us to judge how changes are if they just write complex turret armor enhancements. I don't know. So we have to skip the M60 sadly. The 121B on the other hand, there we finally have some concrete information. Not only is Wargaming buffing its DPM from 8.7 seconds to 8.1 second reload time, giving it an effective DPM from 2689 to 2909, but they also give it more speed. 5 kph in the top speed department and 5 kph in the reverse speed department. Now that is some very nice changes if you ask me, because it kind of differentiates the 121B from the 121 a little bit more. In the sense of the 121 should have a little bit more armor and should have the 440 alpha gun, while the 121B should have a little bit more gun handling and the 390 alpha gun. However, and once again, turret and upper front plate armor enhancements. I'm just going to assume that it is 5mm on the upper front plate and maybe a little bit more armor on the turret cheeks, because they are only here 240 and everything else around it is like 220, 200, and it's very easy actually to penetrate. But it makes it hard to guess if this is going to make the 121B better, stronger, or even too strong, you know, when you compare it to the normal 121. But nevertheless, it's a nice change. You can get this tank for yourself with just bonds from the Bondshop. So yeah, let's move now on to the Tier 8 candidates. The KV-4 Kres or the Kres. And those changes are fairly interesting because they feel like they want to differentiate the KV-4 Kres from the normal KV-4. They gave it a decent chunk better accuracy on the move, from 0.21 to 0.14, which is fairly nice. Then they give it a better engine, buffing its HP per ton ratio from 13 to 14.6 and give it 10 kph better top speed, which is very nice. Plus an additional 200 hit points, which is, it's almost well, it's basically a free HP module, you know, which you just get like that. And if you now would use still the HP mode, you would get like 1870 hit points, if I'm not mistaken. That is loads of hit points to spare. And turret front part armor enhancement along the side of the gun mantlet. Now, I guess this is just the cheeks, because the cheeks are like 160mm thick. That is not that much. And this is a very, very small spot, so it kind of feels like it is random to hit that, very random to hit that, and it's more luck-based than anything. The thing is about the Kreslavsky. I consider this tank to be fairly weak in its current state, and even in a buffed state it won't be that nice, because it basically possesses 3 separate weak spots. Sure, weak spots are totally a-okay in the game, and I do think that weak spots should be present. However, 3 separate weak spots are kind of overkill. First things first, the KV-4 has this lip on top of the armor plate, of the hull armor, which is 140mm thick, effective 150, meaning that tier 7 tanks can pen it easily with AP rounds frontally, and tier 6 tanks can penetrate it with premium rounds, and some even with standard rounds. Then you have the cupola, which is 190mm thick, meaning that tier 7 tanks with premium rounds, some tier 7 tanks with AP rounds, and most, or basically all tier 8 heavy tanks can penetrate it with standard rounds. And then you have the gun mantlet, which is 230mm thick. And this is the biggest issue in my opinion. I feel like if Wargaming considers to buff the front of the turret face, or just the cheeks, why not just buff the gun mantlet as well? Just buff it to, I don't know, 250mm. And now it sounds absurdly like, Raging, you freaking illiterate! Why do you want this? Basically, most tier 8 heavy tanks have around 220 to 225mm of base AP penetration. Meaning, in close range engagements, they have a 50% chance just spamming through the huge gun mantlet of the KV-4 Kreslavsky. It makes it very frustrating to play in that regard. Especially if you already have to try to hide your lip on the upper front plate and the cupola which you have on your turret. So it doesn't really feel skilled to play the tank because everybody can spam through your gun mantlet anyway. And if you're already discussing that, and if Wargaming is watching this video, which I hope they do, it's the same about the Mauerbrecher. The Mauerbrecher has 230mm cheeks, it has a huge cupola, it has a weak spot on the front, it has a weak spot on the lower plate, it has a weak spot on the side lower plate, you know? And why not just buff the turret face to around 250, at least the gun mantlet, you know? So it's not as easy to penetrate, because 220 to 30 is simply not enough against same tiered heavy tanks. Especially when you're very slow. So maybe the KV-4 now going up to 40 kph, maybe this is the balancing wise, and they want to make it a little bit more mobile but less armored than the normal KV-4 variant. But again, let me know in the comment section below what you think about those changes. Next up, we do have the Chieftain T95. Yes, the Chieftain. It's a tier 8 one, not a tier 10 one, so don't be bothered, it's not OP. Those are some very nice changes, however. They are making the tank more accurate on the move from 0.18 to 0.14, as well as on the turret accuracy from 0.14 to 0.1. 0.1 is comparable, it's the same what the 140 has, so that is very nice. Next up, they also buffed the DPM of this vehicle, which is more than understandable because the DPM of the Chieftain T95 is bad. It's dog shit, you know. So now it almost having a second quicker reload time, giving it a DPM of 1920 compared to the 1734. That is very nice. Another very nice feature about the Chieftain T95 is it has a huge cupola, which is very easy to penetrate, meaning you have an abundance of weak spots to use. The fact now is they buffed the view range from 380 to 400 meters, which is above which I was hoping for ages now, because you have such a huge cupola. It's nice that you now get rewarded for having such a huge cupola, you know. And lastly, 100 horsepower more, giving it a 17 HP per ton ratio engine compared to the 15 HP per ton ratio. So that is very nice, that is very cool, that is very neat, makes the tank more easy to use and in skilled hands stronger, you know. And that's kind of, again, I like the change. The tank is definitely not going to be OP because the turret, even though the turret is strong, the cupola totally negates that strength because it's like 100mm or 120mm thick, meaning even tier 6 tanks can easily punch right through it. Again, I didn't look up the proper army values, but it is very weak. Excuse me. Did I say 5? Did I say 100mm? It's 58. a 50.8 millimeters thickness. So again, nobody should have any issues penetrating that cupola. Like, some tanks can't even bounce it because of overmatch mechanic. But yeah, those changes are nice. More DPM is nice. It doesn't have great pen, so you kind of need it, and the better gun handling is a godsend. Next up, the IS-5. Boy oh boy, this tank is bad. And I do like the changes, but I feel like the gun depression change from 0.5 to 0.7 should have been something different. The IS-5 is basically the T10, but with the T25T gun, which has been given better AP rounds, you know, or like better standard rounds. It has now better accuracy on the move, 0.24 to 0.2, and 0.16 to 0.1 on the turret, which is again very nice. However, rather than giving it more gun depression, I would have wished for a quicker aim time, because it is a shotgun after all. And it would have made the IS-5 be a little bit more distinct compared to the Defender, to the IS-3A, to the IS-6, to insert X number of tier 8 Russian heavy premium tank, you know. And it would have just made a little bit more unique if you would had still not an accurate gun, but a gun which is quicker in aiming in, you know. Maybe something like the 703 in that regard, but without obviously the double shot mechanic and a lot worse armor, because the IS-8 hull or the T10 hull in that regard, as well as the T10 turret, are good, but they are by far not good enough to hold off the majority of rounds. It is a good change though. It is a good change. And lastly, the T23E3 got a change. It gets a little bit better. Well, not a little bit. It got actually a pretty big better accuracy on the move, from 0.2 to 0.14. Now that is very nice, because that thing is horrendously inaccurate on the move, as you might have seen from the background footage while we were driving into position. That is a very nice change indeed, and I do like the change. However, I would have maybe wished for a little bit more accuracy on the move, but then again, it is a tier 7 premium tank with very bad pen. Special matchmaking. It's basically like the Panther M10 with no armor, but better DPM, you know. So it is unique. And as a closing statement, I want to ask you, when did you last time see any of those vehicles? Especially the tier 8 premiums. I highly doubt you saw them anymore. So the chances are that maybe, like, there are some rumors around, and I want to call them rumors, because Wargaming, there are some people saying that they might come to the Bondshop. The M60 and the 121B are already in the Bondshop. About the KV-4, Chieftain IS-5 and T23E3, I kind of call bollocks, because they are usually being not sold, but made during crafting parts of the Clanwars events, especially in summer. So we'll see how this is going to pan out. We are awaiting a Bondshop update, but apparently it should come in summer and not soon, which is kind of bad, because Wargaming in that regard lied to us. They said every 6 months, and now it's every year, which is a little bit annoying, because it's boring. You want to wait, you have to wait to get something new. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you think about those changes. Do you think it is once again just pampering the good player base, or do you think it is understandable, because those, like, not a single one of those vehicles was good, except for the M60. I consider the M60 to be a solid medium tank, which is nice to use, nice gun handling. It's basically like the old Leopard with a little bit of armor. Not good armor, little bit of armor. And that is cool. That is very cool. So I really like the M60. And the 121B, I don't know, it's just, I never really had the joy in playing it. might try it, you know, a little bit more. But right now I'm working on a Progetto 65, because I still consider it to be a strong tank and a nice tank. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great Easter time if you watched the video today or tomorrow. And if you had Easter, I hope it was a good one. And I'll see you around in the next video. Cheers and good luck on the battlefield.